Hey everyone, once again, I am back with top 5 best-selling mouse under 1,000 on Amazon. Before I start, subscribe our channel for this kind of video. Now let's start the video. Jumping into the number 5 spot of the best budget gaming mice in 2024 is the Cooler Master MM711, coming in at a price tag of $28.95. If at any point during the video you want to check out any of the 5 mice in this video, there's Amazon links below, but the MM711 is my favorite and best pick for a gaming mouse under $30. This uses the Pixar 3389 sensor, which is a very reliable and great high-end sensor. This has a 1000 Hz polling rate up to 16,000 dpi, 400 mS IPS, and 50 Gs of. This has a cutout design, but with the Cooler Master logo instead of like your traditional honeycomb pattern, which I really appreciate. Just make this feel a little bit more unique, which you don't typically get at this price point. It's well put together and looks absolutely awesome. For color options, there's actually quite a few. You have matte black, matte white, glossy white, and a wilderness green for the skate. These use Virgin gray T-Fay with one large skate in the front and then two smaller skates in the bottom corners. This design does cause some drag, but it's definitely not unusable and it's very, very manageable. For the cable, it's pretty much classic ultralight cable. It's lightweight. If you keep some slack on it, it feels wireless. For switches, these are using Omron switches, which feel great here. Not too light, not too heavy. Basically, everyone will like these. They also have a pretty good sound. For programmable buttons, there are 7. You can customize these with Cooler Master's Master Plus software. You have the left click button that cannot be programmed. So that's the only button that cannot be programmed. It's just right for playing games, especially like FPS-style games. For the weight, this comes in at 60 grams, which everything considered, this is a really, really good package for the price. Now, on top of all of that, to finish it off, the RGB is actually really, really good. Even with that weight, this manages to have a lot of RGB, both on the wheel and this massive diffuse section under the cutouts, which just looks really, really good. But with that, let's move on to the number 4 spot, and that is the Damoshark M3, coming in at a price tag of $42.99. This uses the 3395 sensor. Hits a 1000 Hz pulling rate up to 26,000 dpi, 650 IPS, and 50 gigaseconds of acceleration. Build quality here is pretty solid with no rattles and only a very, very slight creep on the upper left and a teeny bit of flex if you grab it extremely hard. This obviously might vary from unit to unit, but that's what was on mine. For the shape and size, this is very similar to the G Pro X Superlight, but it is a bit wider with more of a flat palm bump and indents on the left and right click. This has a smooth texture with the Damoshark logo on the front, which I honestly don't love, but not a biggest deal with mice. Now, for programmable buttons, this is pretty much standard for a more FPS, lightweight style mouse. You're going to get those 2 side buttons for programmable buttons, but that's pretty much it. Now, for weight, this was really the reason that this won over the G305 Lightspeed. And this thing only comes in at 58 grams. For the price and all the other specs, this just beats the G305 Lightspeed, especially if you want a budget wireless gaming mouse. Now, for RGB, there is no RGB here, but with that, let's move on to the number 3 spot, and this is the HyperX Pulsefire Haste. This thing retails for $49.99, but it's pretty consistently on sale for $39.97, which is what it currently is at the time of filming, which is a fantastic price for this mouse. This uses the 3335 sensor, like I've mentioned before. This sensor has some implementation problems from other companies, but HyperX and all the name brand companies implemented this just right. There's no problems with the sensor, and it's a very good sensor overall. This is a 1000 Hz polling rate up to 16,000 dpi, 450 IPS, and 40 gigaseconds of acceleration. For the build quality, it's built well and is honestly just a plain, downright good-looking gaming mouse for the price. This uses hexagon cutouts both on the palm areas as well as the beginning of the left and right click, which I think looks awesome for programmable buttons. There are technically six total. 4 out of the 6 buttons are fully customizable. For weight, this is great. Coming in at 59 grams, this is great for FPS games or those that like a lighter feel. And then pair that with the grippiness. It's great for liftoffs. It's just a good mouse overall. Now for RGB, there's not much. It's only on the scroll wheel, but in HyperX fashion, it's very, very bright and saturated, so that's pretty sweet. But with that, let's move on to the number 2 spot. The Razer Basilisk V3. This has an insane price. They've dropped it substantially over time, with this only coming in at $49.90. Now, this isn't a super fast mouse. All the other mice on the list are better for like FPS games. But if you want a customizable mouse that's pretty much good at everything, this is an insane value in 2024. This uses the Razer Focus Plus optical sensor, which is fantastic for all sorts of gaming, including fast-paced gaming. So again, they feel very similar to the Gen 3 South, and in most ways, they're basically identical, making for this have a very satisfying tactile click. Now for programmable buttons. That's where if you really want programmable buttons, this mouse absolutely rocks it. You have a ton. 13 total programmable buttons. There are 3 on the left side of the mouse, to behind the scroll wheel. There are then the left and right clicks, as well as the programmable scroll wheel. That can be clicked to the left and right center, as well as obviously the normal up and down scroll. And because one of those programmable buttons is you're holding that paddle, decrease your DPI, or you can change it to whatever you want. But if you want to use it as a sniper paddle, that's what it does. In a lot of games like Hell Let Loose. This is a 1000 Hz pulling rate up to 26,000 DPI, 650 IPS, and 50 gigaseconds of acceleration. Build quality here is amazing. Definitely the best on any budget mouse. And for sure, the best in this price point. You're not going to beat that. The cable here is Razer's SpeedFlex cable, so even though this is a bigger mouse, they still use an ultra-light cable design, which is really nice. This feels wireless if you keep some slack on it. For the switches, these use Razer's Gen 2 optical switches. Now the weight here, while it sounds like a lot at 101 grams, it's still far less the Logitech G502, but this really comes down to personal preference and DPI. If you have a higher DPI, then having a lightweight mouse doesn't really matter, and a heavier mouse actually is better. Now, to finish it off, the RGB is absolutely unreal here. You have basically 3,360-degree lighting around the base of it. You have the Razer logo and then that wheel itself. It looks absolutely crazy at night. I love the RGB here. But with that, jumping on to the number 1 best budget mouse of 2024. And this is the Razer Cobra, coming in at a price tag of $39.99. This is an awesome mouse for the money. This is using Razer's 8500 DPI optical sensor. This hits a 1000 Hz pulling rate. Obviously, 8500 DPI, 300 IPS, and 35 Gs of acceleration. Build quality here is extremely solid, with no creaks or rattles. A lot of you always commented me about how I'm talking about Razer's build quality being so good. Overall, it is really impressive for the price tag. This is one of my favorite budget mices out there. For color options, you get black and that's it. And you're gonna be happy with that. They did it really, really well for the cable. This is what Razer calls their Speed Flex cable. And I've never had a problem with Speed Flex cables. If you keep some slack on it, like every other lightweight cable, it's gonna feel wireless. For programmable buttons, again, you get your standard programmable buttons with 2 extra side buttons on the left side. And this is fully customizable in Razer, but the weight is just right here at 58 grams. Now, for RGB, you do get that on this mouse, with everything else you get, which I think is pretty awesome. Having the Razer logo lit up, and some, like, ambient lighting on the back of the mouse, which look great. Overall, this is an extremely attractive and polished product for the price. But again, if you want to check out any of the 5 gaming mice in this video, there's Amazon links below. I'll see you guys in the next video.